Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. You recording it? One second. My brother, you just gotta send them.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. May all praises made it through another week in Babylon. Another week closer to our salvation, right?
God,
All praises.
wait.
So okay, just gotta finish this. So tonight, the topic that I want to go over is actually going to be on sacrifice and the significance of sacrifice in the Israelite culture and history, and how it pertains to today in our day-to-day life in 2022. So
God.
So let's get the first verse that we're gonna deal with. We're gonna go into a few passages, a couple scriptures, and it's not gonna be too long. Howard, are you gonna read for me? If you can't, Yaquab, you want to read for me? I can't. The first scripture is Genesis chapter 4, verse 3. Because sacrifice throughout the scriptures, you see a ongoing theme of sacrifice, because the Most High requires certain things from us, right? So bring that out when you got it.
Reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 3. And in process of time,
Mhm.
it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground, an offering unto the Lord.
Mhm.
Verse 4. And Abel, he also brought of the firstling of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel, unto his offering.
So we see this. This is before we even got the laws, right? We see this. I'll say the prototype Israelites. The chosen seed from Adam. The before Israelites act before Jacob came. The Most High was already dealing with a chosen seed. So Adam, his seed, we see them doing this sacrifice already before we even got the laws, or the codified laws where it was given to Moses to be written down and passed down. We see that there was already sacrificing. Cain brought of his fruits, and Abel brought of the firstling of his flocks. It says, and the Most High had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Next verse. Verse 5.
Verse 5. But unto Cain, unto his offering, he had not respect. And Cain was very wrong, and his countenance fell.
And see, so we see this already, that the Most High choosing the firstling of the flock, he would rather that sacrifice than the fruits of the ground, right? So we already see an early form of sacrifice. Now let's go over to Genesis chapter 8. Start at verse 15. Because we see this before we even get to this nation of Israel, we see sacrifice. This is something It's a part of the custom of the people that the Most High has chosen. This lineage that the Most High has chosen, if he chose them, he's expecting sacrifice from them. Go on. Verse 15, chapter 8, verse 15.
Reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 8 and verse 15.
Uh-huh.
And God spake unto Noah, saying, verse 16, go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy son, and thy son's wife, with thee.
Uh-huh.
Verse 17, bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may be bred abundantly in the earth, and be faithful, fruitful, and multiply upon the earth.
So just for a snapshot, this is after the flood, after the water has subsided. This is what's happening. So the Most High told Noah and his family, the waters subsided, go back out on the earth. Take everything that you brought up with you, all the animals, everything, send them back out that they may breed. And what it says, breed abundantly in the earth. So the Most High wants the earth to be repopulated after the flood. Go on, next verse, verse 18.
Verse 18, and Noah went forth, and his son, and his wife, and his son's wives with him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 19, every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kind, went forth out of the ark.
So everything that came on the ark went out of the ark. Go on.
Verse 20, and Noah builded an altar.
And Noah built an altar unto the Lord. Go on.
And took up every clean thing,
Clean.
clean beast,
Mm-hmm.
and of every clean fowl, and of offered burnt offering on the altar.
And so you see this right after this. Now Noah took of, if we read earlier in the story, he took 7 of each clean beast. And when he came off the ark, when he came off the ark, he offered a sacrifice of some of these clean beasts. Right? So we see again sacrifice. This is before. So this custom of sacrifice, where did they get it from? This is something that obviously at the Most High, for his chosen seed that he's dealing with, this is something that he established in them. This idea of sacrifice. Right? So now we're just gonna go ahead. Let's go to Genesis 22. Because we're showing this example that this is a continuous thing. Genesis 22. Let's start at the top.
Reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 8 and verse 22. While the earth remained in sea.
No, that I don't know where you're at. 22 says, and it came to pass.
Genesis
22, yeah.
I got it. And it came to pass after those things that Yahweh did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, behold, here I am.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son,
Uh-huh.
and cleaved the wood for the burnt offering,
Go ahead.
and rose up and went unto the place of which the Most High had told him.
So if, there's a lot of mysteries in this, right? He's told him to go to the mountain of Moriah, in the land of Moriah, right? I mean, this isn't necessarily the topic of this lesson, but if you read further about this mountain in Moriah, this is actually where Bethlehem was formed. So it doesn't give the exact location, but I would be led to believe that this is the city of David, where the temple ultimately was. But, these are stuff that's insinuated, not directly set out in the scriptures. But he told Abraham, so the same place that he told Abraham to go sacrifice his son would ultimately be where the Most High's son got sacrificed at, right? But this is all before there was even Israel, and the land was even called the city of David and all of that, right? So we see a prelude, so to speak, right, before Israel was even formed. Let's go on.
4. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young man, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you.
So Abraham obviously was a rich person, right? Because it says he went with the young men, and he told them when after 3 days of traveling, he told them, y'all stay here. Me and my son, we're going to go up into that mountain to worship. So, Abraham wasn't just a regular Joe. That he wasn't just a regular day-to-day guy. Abraham held authority and command over a large number of people. Go on.
6. And Abraham took the wood and the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. 7. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?
So, this got to be all interesting for them, right? Because they left the men behind. He took the fire, he took the wood, and the fire was normally like something almost like a catacomb or a torch or something like that. Just something that you use to light, And he had a knife, he got the fire, he got the wood, but no sacrifice. So, I'm sure Isaac is following behind his father like, what's going on? Where's the wood? But let's continue, Go on. Because he knows that they're going up there to sacrifice, obviously, from him asking them, where's the lamb? Go on.
Okay. And they came to the place which the Most High had told him. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son.
So you see, the story shows Abraham's trust and dedication to the Most High, that he would do it without questioning the Most High's reason. But again, we see Abraham, the reason I brought this one out is Abraham is also familiar with this idea of sacrifice. He didn't say, well, how am I going to do that? He took him, the Most High told him to the place, he's going to provide an altar for him. Abraham went up there, and he was ready to do what he had to do for the Most High, for the Most High's word, right?
It also shows the seriousness of his obedience.
Exactly.
Question nothing, man.
I mean,
okay.
Abraham, he left his family's house, and the Most High just told him to go there. And the day I'm going to show you the land I'll give you. He didn't even say, I'm going to give you this land. He said, I'm going to show you the land I'm going to give you. So, this shows faith on Abraham's part to leave his household. And this isn't like now modern times where we kick our kids out at 18. People lived, the house passed along. So it's not like just Abraham and his father. You understand? This is a whole family of people living together. This was how we established wealth in those days. It wasn't like, no, we're all on our own, defend for ourselves. We only learned this style here in this part of the world. Even when we went into Africa, we still was living as the old saying, it takes a village. That's how we were. A family was its own village in a sense. Everyone living together. We were lacking for nothing. So Abraham, it took faith for him to leave that community and go by himself. That's what the Most High asked of him, and he went. Go on.
11. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thy hand on the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest the Most High.
So Abraham feared the Most High, and he was going to slay his own son for the word of the Most High. Go on.
Seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, beyond him a ram caught in a thicket.
So we see here now the Most High provided the sacrifice, right? But what did he see? Bring that verse again from the top.
13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, beyond him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son.
Read the next verse. I didn't even have that part in my lesson plan, but the next verse.
14. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord.
In the mount of the Lord.
It shall be seen.
So you see this? Abraham named that place Mount Moriah, the mountain of the Lord. And it's ultimately the same place. It became the city of David later, the mountain of the Lord. We see Zion is also referred to in the scriptures as the mountain of the Lord. It says that the Most High prefer that place over all of Judah. So we know that this is the same mountain of the Most High. All right, so now we're going to continue along. Now we're going to get to actually Israel. So let's go to Exodus chapter 3 and verse 1. So this concept of sacrifice is evident in our forefathers and the sons of Adam and Noah and Abraham. This concept of sacrifice, the Most High dealing with certain people and requiring sacrifice from them.
So this has to be passed down from
This is
Adam all the way down.
Khan, exactly. It's something passed down. Now let's go to Exodus 3 and start at the top.
Exodus 3 and verse 1. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law.
So we see Moses, as a shepherd, right? Go on.
The priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of the Most High, even to Horeb.
So where did he end up at? In the same place again, in the mountain of the Most High. You see the names. One thing with the scriptures is the names change based on the time, but it's the same place because when David, I believe, when he bought the parcel of land from the Hittite, it had a different name. So we see this same mountain being referred to as different names, but if we have the spiritual eye and discernment to figure out that the Most High has always kept this same place as where he chose, the names change depending on who's controlling the area. And that's what the Bible reflects too, because he called it Moriah in Abraham's time, Horeb in Moses' time, and we'll see it later after we actually occupy the land. Go on.
And it's also called the mountain of the Most High.
Exactly. So we know it's the same place. Go on.
2. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
So it says the angel of the Most High appeared before Moses, right? So he knew this was a sacred place. Go on.
3. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned.
So, this is a miracle. So this is Moses like, what's going on here? I got to see what's going on over here. This bush is on fire, but it's not burning. Okay, go on.
4. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, the Most High called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I.
Mm-hmm.
You notice they all answer.
Here am I, exactly. It's a common theme, even in 1 Samuel. In 1 Samuel with the prophet Eli, when he No, Salakia, with Samuel. With Samuel, when Samuel went to study with Eli, and the Lord called him, Eli told him, if you hear that somebody saying Samuel, Samuel again, say here I am, Lord. That's how you answer it. So we see that this is again something else. It's passed down, just the way to answer the Most High. Go on.
5. And he said, draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.
And again, we see this is the mountain of the Most High. It's a holy ground. And we when we get into the land, and the priest is supposed to go into the holiest of holies, he has to wash himself. He has to put on the sacred garments. Because why? It's consecrated ground. It's holy ground. You can't just go there, you know. And even when you read like certain laws about cleanness and uncleanness, you know, we take it like, okay, this is unclean. But if you read further into it, you'll see that the Most High said that you can't approach the temple when you're unclean. That's the main part of it. So putting, you know, like you had bloodletting, you can't approach the temple. You can't be, you had intercourse, you can't approach the temple. You have leprosy, you can't approach the temple. This is what a lot of those unclean laws are about. And the Most High is already establishing this. This is holy ground. You can't just wear your sneakers over there. Come on, you gotta be clean, you know? It's sacred ground. Go on.
6. Moreover, he said, I am the power of thy father, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters. For I know their sorrows, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians.
So we see that the Most High, you know, he sees our affliction. You know, same thing back then, same thing now. He still sees our affliction. And ultimately, he's going to come and deliver us out of the hands of the modern day Egypt.
And to bring them out of that land unto a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them.
So the Most High was hearing our words from back then. He heard our cries and our oppression. Same thing now. Go on.
10. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. So
we see the Most High telling Moses he's going to send them to deliver his people out of Egypt, right? But there's a reason why. Let's go into it.
11. And Moses said unto the Most High, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?
And this is why, you know, the scriptures say that Moses was the meekest man, you know, and he's like, who am I that you chose me to do this? You know, if you ask them the average so-called black man, you tell them I've chosen you to deliver our people, they're gonna be like, yeah, you know, they're gonna think about the fame and the clout and everything. But Moses, he was humble. Why me? Why should? And we see in his upbringing, Moses, he knew he was an Israelite, but he was raised up in Pharaoh's house. When he slew the Egyptian, they said, who made you a judge over us? So we see I'm not going to say he don't know if he could lead them, but he wasn't necessarily with them all the way through there. So, you know, he's questioning his capability to do this.
All
right, let's go.
12. And he said, secondly, I will be with thee,
Mhm.
and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve the Most High upon this mountain.
See, and again, we see the same thing, the same mountain, the same chosen mountain. He said, when you brought them out, they're going to serve me on this mountain. You know, so we got to see the continuity of the stories that this same mountain has always been there. Jerusalem is surrounded by 7 mountains, according to, if you listen to secular sources, they say. But one of those mountains is Mount Zion, the same place where our temple was, right? So the Most High said we're going to serve him on this mountain, this same spot. This became where the temple was, both temples were.
Yeah, see this documentary, they have this mountain that is quartered off from the bubbling.
Oh, they know.
You know?
These heathen know. They
Yeah.
they know that they're not in Jerusalem.
This
That
one mountain they got quartered off.
yeah, they no one's gonna go over there. They know that's the mountain. They all their experts will, they're not gonna tell us that or put it on TV like, yeah, we know where the mountain of the Most High is. But they know that the scriptures say that his name is dreadful to the heathen. So imagine them taking his mountain in their name and parade on his mountain. They're going to have hell to pay. So they just going to block that off. Nobody can go there. And they're going to put a fake Jerusalem and, all that away from there. Come on. Let's. Mm-hmm.
And Moses said unto the Most High, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel and shall say unto them, the power of your fathers have sent me unto you, and they shall say unto me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? And the Most High said unto Moses, I am that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am, hath sent me unto you.
And not to get off topic, the brothers from GOCC, that's where they get a higher Sharahaya. I am sent me, right? But if I say, if you tell me I sent you, I'm not gonna tell Sabar I sent me. I'm gonna say you sent me, he sent me. And that's why we say Yahweh, he is, not I am. Make sense? Come. Go on.
15. And the Most High said moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, the Lord power of your fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
So his name is forever Yahweh. Go on.
16. Go and gather the elders of Israel together and say unto them, the Lord power of your fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely visited you and seen that which is done to you in Egypt.
So the Most High is telling this. He's giving Moses the speech to tell the people, to tell the elders. Go on.
17. And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, that must have been so good. 18. And they shall hearken to thy voice, and thou shalt come, thou and the elders of Israel, unto the king of Egypt.
So it says, and the people gonna listen. So the people gonna want to leave Egypt. We're in bondage, And so he says, you and the elders are gonna tell the king of Egypt. What are we supposed to tell the king of Egypt?
Not like now.
Khan.
They don't want to be with
Khan. They don't. They're comfortable here.
Okay. And ye shall say unto him, the Lord power of the Hebrews.
The power of the Hebrews. Go on. Not the power of everybody. The power of the bruise. Go on.
Had met with us, and now let us go, we beseech thee, 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our power.
So there we go again. The Most High told them, I'm going to get y'all out. And when y'all get 3 days journey from Egypt, y'all going to sacrifice unto me. Right? So we see that the Most High's expectations is a sacrifice. Right? So we have to understand this, that this is part of our culture, our part of, so now we're going to go into, different kinds of sacrifices. Right? So, because there's different kind of sacrifices. There's sin offering, there's free will offering, there's peace offering. So there's different sacrifices. People, like when we tell them that the Most High is going to put us in our mind and in our heart the law. So they said, so why are you going to be sacrificing still? Well, we're not going to be giving sin offerings, but we're still going to be sacrificing to the Most High. We're going to give peace offerings and free will offerings. This is the beauty of the Most High. He wants us to sacrifice just for what he's done to us. Not just because we sinned, but for how his mercy onto us. A free will offering to say, thank you, Most High. Here's the best of my flock. You've given us the best of the lands. You've given us the best of everything. Here, let me give you the best of my flock. Not because I sinned, not because I went off, just because I want to praise you. So there's different kind of offerings, right? But the Most High, just because we're not sinning anymore, we're still going to be giving offerings. It's just not going to be a sin offering from us. And that's for another topic also, because in the kingdom, these other nations are going to have to give offerings. They're going to have to. I'm going to go off topic for a second. Let's go to Deuteronomy, I believe it's 23. 1 second. Yes, Deuteronomy 23, and start at the top.
23 and 1.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 23 and 1. Because a lot of people take Deuteronomy 23 like when we out on the street, somebody be like, that knows the Bible and know of the Bible. They'll say, see, you can't hate an Edomite. But we got to understand what's going on here. So let's read Deuteronomy 23.
23 and verse 1. He that is wounded in the stones, or had his privy member cut off, shall not enter unto the congregation of the Most High.
So it says, I'm going to speak frank, he that had his broad cut off, or had his castrated, he's not going to enter into the congregation of the Lord. So let's just continue. Once I get to the end of it, then I'm going to go back up. Verse 2.
Okay, a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High.
A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Go on.
Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Most High.
A bastard won't enter even to the 10th generation. So that word there is mamzer, right? I don't want to get necessarily into what a mamzer is, but the scriptures explain itself, right? Let's see the next verse.
3.
So a bastard or a mamzer will enter even to the 10th generation. Now, when it says even to the 10th generation, that's not saying 10 generations from you after that, now that person could enter. The 10th signify completion. Like he'll never be able to get in. Not 10 on the 11th generation he could get in. No, this is 10th generation, meaning never, completion, perfection. He's never gonna get in. Let's see who's this bastard. Go on.
That also kicks in with the kingdom.
With the kingdom also.
Anyone who lives a life like this will be subject until they reach into the kingdom. Some of us is going to stray in.
But some.
Of us is going to be on that side many years.
But see, the scriptures explain who the bastard is in the next verse. Go on.
3. An Amorite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Most High forever.
So what we're talking about in Deuteronomy 23 is the congregation of the Most High, right? Shalom, King. Right? So we're talking about, it says, somebody wounded in the stones, a bastard, an Ammonite, or a Moabite, right? So let's just jump down. Right now it explains why the bastard, who's the Moabite and Ammonite, can't enter. Let's jump down. Let's go to verse 4. And even it says the Moabite and Ammonite. Let's read verse 6 because it's talking about why they can't enter in verse 4 and 5. But let's see verse 6.
Verse 6. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all thy days forever.
So it says that not only can't they get in, but we're not even supposed to try to be peace with them. We're not supposed to seek their peace or prosperity. So we just ain't supposed to have nothing to do with them people, right? And this is a commandment. This is a commandment, right? So let's continue on because this is talking about the congregation of the Most High. And then we're going to go to a verse to kind of explain this. Go on, verse 7.
Verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite.
So see, that's it. There you go. Somebody be like, why y'all don't like white people? Y'all not supposed to abhor Edomite. Go on.
For he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land.
So it says we're not supposed to abhor them, right? But what is this talking about? This is the water. So this is talking about entering into the congregation. Let's find out what the congregation of the Lord is, right? Because we're thinking about this in a literal sense. That word congregation, you're thinking congregation. So the kingdom, right? But let's see what this is. Let's go to Lamentations chapter 1, verse 10. Lamentations chapter 1, verse 10.
Lamentations.
1 second, I'll get you.
You know what? People sleep on. When they pull that scripture, bro, you should make it Edomite. That also shows you they know who Esau is.
They know in their spirit who Esau is. They want to fight it. That's like a last resort. Like they'll try anything to save Esau.
And they know what's going to happen to Esau too.
Khan. They know the prophecies that the only person who's promised to be cut off is Esau. Everybody else in one way or another, even the Canaanite who the Most High said will never end. When we get back in the kingdom, there won't be no Canaanites in the land. Even a Canaanite is promised to live. He just can't come into the land. But Esau is the only one promised we're going to eradicate them. You know? Yeah, how? At that point, there's no need for the Most High to whip us. So Esau is like a gun in a time of peace. You're useless.
Right.
The Most High don't need you no more, so he's going to get rid of you. Right? And that's all Esau is. When we get out of line, his job is to me and Mike was talking about this earlier. Like the Most High, and when we read it in Job, Esau was chased to the caves. We read it in Micah, Esau was in the wilderness. He made his place bare. In Malachi, Salakia, right? So we see when Israel is doing good, he sent Esau to the caves to live like animals.
Right.
And then when we fall off, Esau can come about the caves, you know, and he come and find us. We moved from Jerusalem to the interiors of Africa, ended up on the west coast of Africa. And when Esau found out where we were, it became free for all. It became a jackpot. Why? Because he knows in his spirit what his job is. He knows in his spirit. This is why we came out the caves. We found them. Let's get them. You know? Now, uh-huh.
And he's going by the door. Brother, why you keep staring at me? What you keep staring at me for? You know, big kids that yeah, you may fire up.
Yeah.
But the brother holds his composure. His composure.
Nah.
But it's just that he can't do right if he wants to do right.
Can't.
He just can't do it.
That's not his purpose. Yeah, it's not his purpose. You know, the Most High made him for that purpose. It's like Paul alluded to it also. He says, out of the same lump to make one vessel of honor and one of dishonor. It's not his purpose to do right. You know, it's just not like the Most High got him programmed already. Like, this is what you are. You know, this is what you are. You know, you ask somebody like word association. You know, you'd be like, somebody shoot up a school. Your first thought, it's a white guy. You know, you're not going to even think a Hindu man, you know? You're going to think a white guy because that's his purpose. You know, you hear somebody slept with an animal, your first thought, it's a white person because that's his purpose. The Most High didn't make him, like it says, his spirit is not lift up, that's lifted in it is not upright. The Most High didn't make him for that purpose.
Remember back a while ago, the Israelites went to the church.
Mm-hmm.
Eight congregation.
Come.
And they asked him, why did you do it?
Khan, that's the spirit that the Most High gave him. Huh? Oh, Dylan Roof, Khan.
He did what?
Dylan Roof. He sat in the back of the church for an hour and change. But yeah, you got to be a wicked person, man. Because you know, in the black churches, they do a lot of singing and praising. So you got to sit through all of that. Like, I could understand him going in, having a plan to shoot up this place, go in guns blazing and get it over with. But you got to be a different kind of wicked to sit there and listen to old women singing and praising and clapping and, you know, the whole Holy Spirit going on in there. And then after an hour and some change, now you decide, you know, that's a different kind of wicked. That's not a wicked that you can just do. That has to be in you, you know, like. But let's get to the 1 and 10. Uh-huh.
The
adversary.
The adversary has spread out his hand upon all her pleasant things.
So Jeremiah is lamenting. He's weeping and crying over the state of Israel. He said the adversary has spread his hand, so they're touching everything, all of the pleasant things. Go on.
For she had seen that the heathen entered into her sanctuary.
He says the heathen entered into her sanctuary. Go on.
Whom thou didst command that they should not enter into thy congregation.
So it says that the heathen entered into our sanctuary, who the Most High commanded shouldn't enter into the congregation. So this, when you read in Deuteronomy 23, when it says about a bastard will enter into the congregation, this is talking about sacrifice. That's what this is talking about. A bastard. All these other nations, we're supposed to, when they come, so the Most High is the Most High. There is no other power but the Most High. So when these other nations come and say, we accept the Israelites' God, we know that He is the true God, we want to give sacrifice to your God, we're supposed to accept it and accept their sacrifice to our God. This is what Deuteronomy 23 is talking about. There's certain people who you're not supposed to accept their sacrifice from. The eunuch, a transformer, we cannot accept their sacrifice under any circumstances because it's in the law. They're not supposed to sacrifice. A Moabite and an Ammonite, we're not supposed to accept their sacrifice. And this is when somebody says all people can be saved, well, hold up now. The Most High is saying He's not even taking sacrifices from certain people. So when it says we're not, Salaki, I'll get to you 1 second, Mike. So when it says we're not supposed to abhor an Edomite, it's when they come to sacrifice. We're not supposed to be like, Y'all can't sacrifice. We're supposed to accept their sacrifice. We're not supposed to do them dirty when they come to give sacrifice. So if they say, if they bow down on their knees and say, Yahweh is the only God, we want to give sacrifice to him, we're supposed to accept their sacrifice. They can't enter into the congregation to give sacrifice, but we're supposed to accept their sacrifice. This is all this talking about, that we're supposed to. Now the heathen, we're not supposed to abhor them. Same thing with the Egyptian. We're supposed to accept their sacrifice when they come to give sacrifice. And that's what's going to happen when we get into the kingdom too. All nations are going to have to come and give sacrifice. So Deuteronomy 23 is like, it's a king. Even though it's in the law, it's also kingdom context. When we're in the land, when we was in the past, and all these people came and they seen a wonderful temple, and they decided they wanted to give sacrifice to our power, we're supposed to accept it. There's certain people the Most High put in the law, no sacrifice, forever. The Ammonite and the Moabite, never. So no matter what, so when they say all nations could be saved, all nations can't even give sacrifice. That's out of the way. How is a Canaanite, when we get into the land, and it says there should no more be a Canaanite in the land, how is a Canaanite supposed to give a sacrifice if he can't even be in the land? It's not going to happen. A Moabite and Ammonite is not going to happen, right? These are certain things that, and that's what Jeremiah is talking about. It says we let the heathen into our congregation. We let the Moabite and the Ammonite, and we actually see this again in Nehemiah when we put away the wives. Why? Because we was allowing these heathens into the land, they wasn't just in the land, they was actually going to the temple also. And we see this again in Revelations. It says the inner gates. So this is at the temple, right? We got the inner gates, that's for the children of Israel. The outer courtyard, that's for the heathen. Why are the heathen at the temple in the outer courtyard? To give sacrifice. We'll take their sacrifice. You brought a goat, we'll take it from them and take it to the priest to give the sacrifice. They're not going to enter into the actual temple. And that's what Jeremiah is saying, that we allowed these heathen into the temple. So, like, Mike, you had a question or a comment? Exactly. I had a recent conversation with a OT only brother, Tanakh only brother, last week, and he said we was talking about circumcision. Well, he was talking about why he disputes Paul. He says Paul speaking against circumcision, and I said no. Paul speaks about circumcision in the manner of Moses. And I gave him the example, like, you are Israelite. You didn't born into the truth. Unless you were circumcised, I don't care if it's before or after, unless you were circumcised on that 8th day, you was not circumcised after the manner of Moses. This is the point. That so now, because I wasn't circumcised after the manner of Moses, because in the law it says on the 8th day you're supposed to be circumcised. So if I get like my son, I'll use him as an example. My son, not even 2 years old, because of the COVID and all this that was going on, my son wasn't able. The doctors wasn't like that. You had to take it when it was available. My son was circumcised on his 3rd day. My son, who was born in the truth, is not circumcised after the manner of Moses. So what? Is he not supposed to get circumcised? And this is what Paul is saying, right? So he says, we was talking about that, and he said, no, that's talking about for the Gentiles, for them to eat the Passover. I'm like, brother, the heathen can't eat the Passover unless they are your property. Unless he is your slave, you know, and there's no other way to put it gently. Unless that heathen is your slave, he cannot eat that Passover. So we in America, like you know, again I mentioned camps like GOCC, and even these OT only brothers who are of that belief, who are having these heathen eat the Passover with them, they are breaking the law. They are going off because we don't have slaves in America. So there's no reason for those other nations to even eat of the Passover. They have to be your property for them to be able to eat that Passover. Got it. You have to be brought. They have to be brought. It's all about money. The Most High, they don't understand that the Most High, in His favor for Israel, He's telling them these things. Like, for example, we can't, like if a brother go poor, we can't pass him. So he agrees to be my servant, right? He agrees to work for me. I can't pass him along to Yaiqua. I can't pass him along to Judah. No, he has to work off his debt and he is free. Now a heathen, man, we can ping pong him. We can ping pong him all day. We could ping pong his children all day. This is the mercy that the Most High has for us. So he makes provisions in it that certain things that apply to us don't apply to the heathen. Certain things that apply to the heathen don't apply to us. If I buy let's just say a Cushite servant, and he comes in with a wife, and I buy his wife also, everything that he puts his hand to acquire belongs to me. He doesn't have a say. And not just acquire, everything that he produces, including children, belong to me. This is what the Most High does for Israel. But now a brother, if he has kids, that belongs to him. And when he leaves out, he takes all of that with him. Go ahead.
And you know, just to go back and say that Most High is somewhat being mercy on the Edomites, because when he become our property, we'll be in our righteousness.
Come.
You know what I mean? So that goes to show you that he did serve his purpose.
Exactly.
Otherwise, Most High would let us slay him down.
Exactly.
The brother asked me one time, he had ignorance. When did we get to rape the white folks?
Kyle, we don't.
You would be just like them. You know?
Kyle, and that goes into not abhorring the Edomite, because you can't do. And the word abhor literally means to do them abominably. So we can't. You know how Esau. As much as I would love to say we get the get back, we can't do them like they did us. We can't tie them upside down, cut their women belly open. We can't tie their limbs on horses and have them. No, we got to. Even in the scriptures, it says about we can only give them 40 lashes a day. We can't exceed 40 lashes a day. On the lashes?
I know the law on the lashes, but as far as
Oh, because that would be I would say that's doing them abominably. That's what the word abhor means. Huh? I mean, so the law is supposed to come from us. So I'm of the mind that we're gonna beat them. Definitely, we're gonna beat all these nations because we're gonna beat the law into them. They're the Chinese, man. You want to eat a rat? Get this law. You want to be a No, we not. We can't. And then also, even when you take a wife from a different nation, like when we went to war and we captured them, right? It wasn't like jackpot. We had to give them a grieving process, shave their hair, pare their nails, exactly. And we're not gonna have them doing eating these abominable things, you know. So
We're not gonna be doing that.
so even when we get to Most High willing, we are that number, and we get to the kingdom, and we do have slaves. There's no raping going on and all that. Like we not mixing our, you know what I mean? We setting up our righteous kingdom at that point. You know, we're gonna do. Though they don't realize it, it's to their better interest for them to be under us, because we're gonna show them the way. We're gonna teach them the right way. You know, you're not eating no damn oysters. You know, you're not eating no lizard and snakes. You know, you're gonna eat clean food. You're gonna do what the Most High say, and if you don't like it, you're gonna earn the repercussions of going against these laws, right? But I want to get back to this sacrifice. All right. So let's just do the free will offering. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 3, verse 1, and then we jump to 6. So this is all like a shadow also, you know, of sacrifice.
Leviticus 3, verse 1. And if his oblation be a sacrifice of peace offering.
So we have we're seeing what is required of a peace offering. Go on.
If he offer it of the herd.
So you could offer it of your cattle, the herd, like your rat, your bulls, your cows, whatever. Go on.
Whether it be a male or female, he shall offer it without blemish before the Lord.
So the Most High is not taking no lame sacrifice. No, you're not gonna give the Most High the gimpy goat. You know, the cow that's blind out one eye or has some kind of illness. You're not giving them the Most High.
The one you don't need.
Yeah, the Most High wants the best that you got to offer. Jump to verse 6.
Leviticus
3 and 6.
3 and 6. Okay. And if his offering for a sacrifice of peace offering unto the Lord be of the flock,
So if it's of the sheep and goats, go on.
male or female, he shall offer it without blemish.
So the Most High is not accepting nothing less than perfection. You gotta give your best to the Most High, right? And this goes into our sacrifice now. But we're gonna get there, right? Now let's go to Leviticus 22. Let's start from
22.
verse 18.
Leviticus 22 and 18. Speak unto Aaron and to his sons and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, whatsoever he be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers in Israel, that will offer his oblation for all his vows.
So there's so when the Most High don't make any vow, right? So one thing we used to do is, you made a vow on something, you would give a sacrifice also to the Most High, right? But this precept covers a vow offering, and go on.
And for all his free will offerings.
So a vow offering would be considered a free will offering also. Go on.
Which they will offer unto the Lord for a burnt offering.
Mm-hmm.
19. Ye shall offer at your own will a male without blemish of the babes,
Mm-hmm.
or of the sheep, or of the goats.
Mm-hmm.
20. But whatsoever had a blemish, that shall ye not offer, for it shall not be accepted for you.
So the Most High letting you know right there, don't even think of offering something gimpy or something that's not, like you got some kind of disease going on with your cattle, so you're gonna get rid of one of them and give it to the Most High. Nah, the Most High is not gonna accept that. He wants the best, without blemish, without spot, right? Go on. Now let's. So, no. That's it on that, right? So this is just showing what the Most High is expecting from you. He wants the best without blemish, right? So now I want to, since we're on the topic of sacrifice, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 1, just in case someone would think that it's okay to sacrifice here or anywhere else. Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 12 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land which the Lord power of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it all the days that ye live upon the earth.
So it says, this is the statutes that you shall do in the land all the days that you're on earth. So we already get a context that it has to be in the land, but let's go.
2. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods, upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree.
So we say that we're going to destroy all of their places of worship. When we get the kingdom, we're going to destroy all their place of worship.
3. And ye shall overthrow their altars and break their pillars and burn their groves with fire, and ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of that place. Ye shall not do so unto the Lord your power, but unto the place which the Lord your power shall choose out of all the tribes to put his name there, even
Not only are we going to destroy all of that, it says, but onto the place, read verse 5 again, Salakia. It says, but unto
the place which the Lord your power shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither shalt thou come.
Go on, verse 6 again.
And thither ye shall bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and your tithes and heave offerings of your hand and your vows and your free will offerings and the firstlings of your herds and of your flocks.
So it says, so we're not supposed to do, I can't decide, you know what, I want to give a sacrifice, so I'm going to go in my backyard, build a little altar and sacrifice there. No, it says, only to that place where the Most High put his name in our land are we supposed to go. So we can't give sacrifices anywhere else, right? So this is the point that I'm making, right? So now let's go one more thing. Let's go to Exodus chapter 22, verse 20. So we got to give context on the sacrifice. And we've seen it also with Abraham. He went to that place. We've seen with Moses in that same mountain. The Most High said, you're going to come back to this mountain and give me sacrifice there. So we know it's the same place, right? All right.
Exodus 22 and 20.
Come on.
He that sacrifices unto any power, save unto the Lord only, he shall be utterly destroyed.
Go on.
Thou shalt neither vex a
No. So it says we're not supposed to give sacrifice to any god other than the Most High, right? So we're just going over some precepts about the sacrifice, and we're gonna bring this all the way home. But I just want to put these all in order, right? So now let's go Exodus 34, verse 15. Because these are just some precepts about the sacrifice. Go on. 34, verse 15.
Exodus 34, verse 15. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods, and one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice.
So now this is talking about, so if you read in the law, when we gave sacrifice, right, it was an ordinance that the Levites are supposed to eat it, right? So now, these other people, these other nations and their idols, when they give sacrifice, let's say to Molech, right? They got this statue of Molech, they got an altar, and they put their meat offering and their drink offering, right? their gods ain't a god. What's gonna happen to this meat and drink offering? What happens to it? Somebody got to eat it. That's what happens, right? So, in our culture, in our heritage, the Levites eat the sacrifice. The Most High gave us that as a precept, right?
Yeah.
But these other people, they're gonna eat their own, right? But the Most High says, bring that part again. Bring that verse again.
Shall make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go whoring after their gods and do sacrifice unto their gods. And one called thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice.
So obviously these other nations are going to eat the sacrifice that they made, right? And they give it to you. Let's see what the Most High says.
And thou take of their daughters unto thy sons, and their daughters
Salakis.
go a whore, huh?
Salaki, that was it, right?
Yeah.
So the Most High is telling us we ain't supposed to eat
Their
food
sacrifice.
sacrificed to other gods.
Uh,
This is what the Most High is saying. So we're not. That's why he also said we're not supposed to make no deals with them, destroy all of their places of worship. Exactly. The Most High is not playing with that. Like he's not playing. Even in the Ten Commandments, he says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Right?
But you know, it'll just show you how this system is set up to vex the Most High. The top products in this nation are named after God. Biggest one is Nike.
So we right in the Ten Commandments, right? The first one, it says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," right? You know, the funny thing is when you deal with the Hebrew of it, right? The word that's before me is panya, right? You know what that word means? It means in my face. so like panya means face. That's all it means. So when it says thou shalt have no gods before me, it's like saying you're not supposed to have nothing around me. Don't even mention no other gods around me. Like, you know, like the Most High is not dealing with all that. What are you talking about? You know, you understand? Like he's a jealous God. So even though those gods are no gods, the Most High don't want you to ever get that confused. So don't even mention them around me. You know, it's like you with a rib and she talking about some other guy. You're gonna look at her like, what's wrong with you? You know? Go ahead.
Because in the 14th verse it says, "But thou shalt worship no other gods, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous power."
His name is jealous, you know, his characteristic. Go on.
Even on our Sabbath, we you know, when we congregate together,
Con.
our list is
I'm-
you know, but always in the text of the worship.
Con. And you know, it's when we look a little deeper, we got to be careful of that, you know, because it's the very first commandment that the Most High gave us, but it's also one of those that I think even in Israel we inadvertently break, you know, about having no gods before me, you know, because especially in this kingdom, man, money can be a god, you know, and we really have to be careful with money, you know. We really have to be careful with money. You know, the scriptures say that money is a defense, you know. But if we use it for anything more than that, like I feel like to me, right? Personally, these, like Yahushua said about whose face is on the money. You know, then render unto Caesar's that which is Caesar's, right? That money, beyond its usefulness, we shouldn't be looking to it beyond that, you know, like not get so caught up in what money can do for you, you know. And we, like I told somebody, you know, he said he had on a cross, and I asked him why. He said it's a lucky charm. I said, brother, that's idolatry, right? I'm like, why? He's like, why? I'm like, because you're rendering God's power to that. You think that that charm can give you luck. That is one of the attributes of God. God give, God take it away. You are now in that dangerous zone of idolatry, attributing God's power to a dumb idol. You know, so you got to be careful. And I said all that to say, with money, we got to be careful with that. You know, we get accustomed to what money can buy and all of that, and we like what it can bring, and it makes us give the money the power of the Most High. All these things that the Most High can give you, and we attribute it to the money. I think even in Israel, these are stuff that we got to consciously think about. We got to consciously think about that, because it's easy, myself included. A lot of times, you know, jobs, you know, I need to get some more money. I need to get some more money, you know, and, you know, our forefathers, the scriptures leave us an example that our forefathers, man, they depended on the Most High. Abraham left his house. Isaac, you know, Jacob, he went, served 7 years for Laban, didn't have a dime with them. You understand? Both of them became great men. You know, he worked for what he got. You know, the Most High gave the increase in all of these things, you know. So we got to really, you know, Paul says, you know, we got to check ourselves, basically, paraphrasing, to make sure that we're in the truth, you know. And sometimes you got to be like, yo, you know, we got to leave it up to the Most High. We got to trust in the Most High, right?
Yeah, I just want to say that, like the scriptures were saying, that money is a defense. We're not using money as a defense, because if it were, we would be building a foundation.
Con.
You know, putting up funds and building a foundation. We're not doing that.
Con,
You know,
exactly.
We need to focus on doing that, you know, with the money that we have, like the tithes and making sure this place is together and whatnot. That's to look at it for, because what do people do? They buy stuff.
Yeah.
Really,
Stuff we don't need. Stuff we don't need. Stuff we.
So the concept that we have out here in the world is totally on the left-hand side of what money is really, you know.
Exactly. The money is meant for a purpose, and we use it for other things, you know. But we live in a commercialist way, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's this song. They say Vita might sing it, but he says, "The things you own you." You know, instead of we work. I mean, we got to look at it realistically, right? You work, get your money to buy something, right? And now that you acquire this possession, this fear of this possession leaving you makes you got to work even more for it. You understand? So it's like it's self-defeating in a sense. You know, Yahushua told the rich man, sell everything you got and follow me. Why? Because and he also says another saying of Yahushua is store up treasures in heaven, because where your treasures are, that's where your heart is going to be. So if your treasure's in heaven, it's not going to get mold or rust, or thieves can't come to it. But if your treasures is here, your heart's going to be here. And so this is why, you know, we really got to, especially with money, man. David, for example, I'll use David. He says, don't make me too rich. I think I said this on the last time I was teaching it. It's a great verse in Psalms. I can't recall exactly which one. But he says, don't make me too rich that I forsake you. And don't make me too poor that I steal and become abhorred to you. Like, don't give me too much, don't give me too little. Yahushua then says, give us this day our daily bread. You understand? So it's a balance, it's a moderation. You know, we don't want to get too much where we start thinking we live for this stuff, but we don't want it too little where we are needing, and then we go out and break the Most High's laws for it.
It's a scripture.
Come.
Right? And it says,
Which one? What book?
Yeah,
Romans 15th chapter?
and 12 verse.
Con.
And it says, for what sort of things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
Con.
So everything that you just now said is for our learning experience.
Con.
So we read those things and how did they get out of
Con.
how did they avoid that we were supposed to learn that now because everything that they went through is coming out with it.
Con.
And in order for us to get over that, we have to study
Con.
and learn what did Moses do. We can't do that. What
Con.
did he do right? We have to do that. So everything that you said is correct.
And you know, one thing, whenever it is, they tell me to come up and teach some, I generally try to keep my classes in a faith area, where, because I feel like it's something that not that we're lacking, but it's something that we as a whole we need faith. We absolutely need faith, because faith is what's going to deliver us. That faith in the Most High. Man is not going to deliver himself. We are not going to deliver ourselves. We can't hope to war against Esau. We're not even represented as a nation. We're not, so the faith faith is the most important thing, and Salakia, give me 1 second, I'll tell you, the faith, what that's important is, one of the reasons I was able to accept this truth very easily, man, and it's something that I've always thought about long before the truth, and I said, every single thing that I've asked for, the Most High has given it to me. Now, it might not look the way I envisioned it, but ultimately what I asked for, I got it. So that idea that somebody is not only real, but also listening, it was easy for me to accept that. I didn't know the Most High, as the scriptures say. We got knowledge of the Most High, but we have the zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. I've had the belief in the Most High, I just didn't know about him. So now that I hear the truth, it's easy for me to accept it and get to knowing the Most High. I knew he was there, I just didn't know of his ways. You understand? But Judah, you had your hand up? Yo, Salam.
Right. I had a precept.
Go ahead.
The famous one, Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
12 and 13, classic.
This is the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep His commandments, but this is the whole duty of man.
That is the whole duty of man.
That's it.
That's it, right? So now we're getting to the meat of the class. Now let's go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. So now we got sacrifice. It's built up. The Most High gave us precepts on how to sacrifice. We see that it's something that we have historically done, as the Most High's chosen people has historically done this.
Yeah, I don't think that you back due to the word peace or faith. Because I think everyone is knowing to have that.
Calm.
You know what I mean?
It's like your mic said.
And to show avoidance, to take commandments, it really true. Because when the Ten Commandments came, it was a big explosion. You know what I mean? It was like an announcement. Because it was just before anyone was the cool festival thing. I wanted to before it, and I was supposed to try. But the Ten Commandments was a big thing. The first time, sure, but this came.
Yeah, if you read Exodus 19, man, it's scary because you see the Most High coming down in the midst of Israel, and we got scared.
Exactly.
We like, we don't want to deal with that. You go, Moses. Yeah, God.
But so, like, I would, we're lacking that, but with all, that's why I said, with all your might, speak, with all your
What's up?
soul, might, all your energy, meaning your life,
Mm-hmm.
into that.
Exactly.
Most of our time in this here truth, this little bit of time that we have, basically what we really do is clean ourselves up.
Con. And I'm glad you say that, right? Because I think a lot of times people, that come and go is like they take on too much, right? They expect too much at one time. This is a process. I didn't learn how to be a wicked nigga overnight. It took me a long period of time gradually, so Yahweh Shah said you got to come back as a child. So right. So as you continue to grow and grow in this truth, there's ups and downs. You're gonna have ups and downs, but Yahweh Shah said it best: "He that endured till the end, himself shall be saved. The same shall be saved." So it's an endurance. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So you build up your faith. You work on yourself. You gotta acknowledge your weak areas in this. Some people struggle. We all, something that's been on my mind a lot this week is spirits, right? Because people mystify the Bible and make it because they don't understand the idea of a spirit, right? Like cancer, right? Look at it like cancer. You have your house, you have your household, and then out the kindness of your heart, you let this straggler into your house. Try to help them out, but this person has this lion spirit about them. You let them into your house, and suddenly more and more and more this spirit is feeding in your house. Now everybody in your household becomes affected with it. It's similar to cancer in your body. One part of your body becomes cancerous, and then it grows and grows and grows. And what do they do with a cancerous? They cut it out. That's the only way you get rid of it and hope that it didn't spread into the other parts that's of your body, right? And that's the idea of a spirit. We get, in Zechariah it says 2/3 of the people are gonna die, right? And that's harsh, but it's a reality because this spirit of America and Sodom and all the wickedness, it's a cancer that spread to our people too much to the point where only I struggle to believe that even 1/3 of us are not going to be affected by it. I think it's even going to be a smaller percent, and that's where 1/3 of us are going to make it out, but it ain't 1/3 of us make it to the kingdom. 1/3 of us make it out to get to the wilderness, and then then Yahweh Shah is going to purge out the rebels out of that. You understand? So it's like that spirit. Why? Because Yahweh Shah is that physician that's cutting off that cancer. He's not going to allow that cancer to enter into his kingdom. You understand? And that's how and that's the spirit that we got to deal with, because a lot of we get affected by spirits daily. We get affected by spirits daily, Mike.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but you gotta remember, it tells you 1/3 is gonna make it, because more than 1/3 is gonna be taken out of here.
More than 1/3 is going to taken out.
Because
Okay.
when you read in Exodus 20, it talks about that purge. Those are the people who, like I said, dang, you made it out?
Yeah, Khan. But
They're
they
the ones you make an example of.
Khan, the ones that got ate up in the wilderness.
Because proof that the 1/3 is going to make it, you go to Revelation 20. It tells you the 2/3, they don't come back
Back until
after the 1,000 years.
Khan. But you know, I agree, right? I agree because the scriptures say a third is gonna make it through the fire. But it's like I just look out here and I'm like, man, our people are so lost and so far gone on this American spirit. Even when we come into this truth, even when we come into this truth, and even if we've been in this truth for a long period of time, we have to continue to grow. We have to continue to grow. Continue to search the reins of your heart. Continue to realize I deal with this spirit. I need to wash this spirit off of me because this spirit is a problem. You understand? And this is we got work to do, you know? Imagine you working all this time and Yahushua said, depart from me, I never knew you. Because we're not willing to do that work within ourselves, you know? Because we're not doing that work within ourselves because we got the truth. So now we resting back on our laurels, you know? We resting back like we got this. We ain't got it. We ain't got it yet. We ain't got it yet. We got to continue to grow, continue reflection, because we are like, nobody can't tell me the sins that I deal with, the spirits that I try to overcome, but me. You understand? And that's the same thing. We all got to continuously grow, right? But I want to just quickly get back to this. Got like 20 minutes of class left, and then so Daniel 9 and 25.
Daniel 9 and 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So this is just Daniel getting the prophecy from that the temple will be rebuilt. Mashiach is gonna come. Whatever that, I don't want to get into no deep breakdown on what the 7 and 62 weeks is, the 69 weeks. I don't want to get into all of that. That's for a different class topic for a different class. Go
on. 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even the troublous time.
Even in troublous time, we see Ezra and Nehemiah rebuilding the temple. It said a brick in one hand, a sword in another. So all this, we rebuilt all of this in troublous times. Go on.
26. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off.
So it says the Messiah is going to come, and during the same 69-week period, after how many weeks? After 2 weeks, after 62 weeks, after 62 weeks, Messiah is going to come, get cut off. Go on.
But not for himself and the people of the prince.
And the people of that prince, so we know that prince is talking about the Roman Empire. Go on.
That shall come, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
So it's prophesied Jerusalem, Messiah, Hamashiach's going to come. Hamashiach's going to get cut off. The prince, which is the Romans of that people, are going to come destroy the city and the sanctuary, the temple. Go on.
And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war, desolation are determined.
So, and it says, and afterwards, it's going to be a flood. You know, we could go into all of that, but again, that's a different topic for a different class. Go on.
27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week.
Uh-huh.
And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
So we see this, right? That it's prophesied that they're going to destroy the temple, right? He's gonna cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. So we're not gonna be able to give that sacrifice anymore. And it's gonna be desolate. Jerusalem is gonna be in a desolate situation, right? So we see this that this sacrifice is prophesied to end, right? Now let's get it from our King himself. Let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew 24, verse 1.
Matthew 24, verse 1. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple.
So Yahushua is leaving the temple. Go on.
And his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple.
And his disciples want him to show the temple. If you read the account in Luke, it says that the disciples were marveling at the beauty of the temple. Like they were like, look at how beautiful our temple is. Right? Go on.
2. And Yahushua said unto them, see ye not all these things?
So Yahushua said, see, you see all these things? Go on.
Verily I say unto you,
Truly I say to you,
there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down.
so Yahushua prophesies that this beautiful temple that y'all marveling at, this is not even 2 stones is going to be on top of each other. Right? So Yahushua prophesies that the temple is going to get destroyed, right? Now let's go to John chapter 4, verse 19, right? So if there's no sacrifice, no temple to sacrifice, as the law states that only in this place where the Most High put the thing. So, now because people think a lot of people, like I'll say OT owners, they think that Yahushua made things easier. I say no, Yahushua made things harder. Why I say that? Why he made it harder, right? Because with no temple, you can't just sin, and you can't, oh man, Friday coming up, I'm about to go turn up, let me get my best lamb and put him on standby, and then Saturday after, I'm going to go sacrifice it. Nah, you can't do that no more. You can't do that no more. You can't just, I'm going to make a sin sacrifice now. I'm just going to go, I'm about to go steal Yahweh's power tool, but let me just have my little goat ready for this sin sacrifice. No, we can't do that no more. Yahushua gave us, accountability. And that the law, the sacrificial law, couldn't. Yahushua gave us accountability. Yeah, question? Okay. So John chapter 4, 4:19. Come.
The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain.
So this is in the Samaritans, right?
No.
The Samaritan woman, right? We see in I believe it's in Isaiah and also in First Kings, it mentions that the northern kingdom built in Shechem. They set up altars in Shechem, and another one they set up in the land of Dan. And that's where they were sacrificing at, right? So the woman said their fathers sacrificed in this mountain. We know even after the northern kingdom was displaced, the what do you call these? The Assyrians, they complained to Judah about all the calamities that was happening to them, and we basically told them, because the God of this land don't deal with no wicked sacrifices. So we see that people were sacrificing in other places other than just Jerusalem. Go on.
And ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship.
So we see, she's saying, see, our fathers sacrifice here. Y'all Jews saying Jerusalem is the place we're supposed to sacrifice. Go on.
Yahushua said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father.
See, again, he's prophesizing in another place the temple is going to be destroyed. He said the hour is coming where you're not going to worship the Most High here, nor at Jerusalem. Huh? Where's that? Oh, this is John chapter 4, verse 21. Go on.
Okay, 22. Ye worship, you know not what. We know what we worship.
Mm-hmm.
For salvation is of the Jews.
So Yahushua is almost kind of telling her, you're in idolatry. You worshiping and you don't even know what you worshiping. We know who we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. Go on.
But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him.
So there we go. So now he's prophesizing not only is the temple going to be destroyed, but that doesn't stop. That doesn't change anything. The Most High still requiring you to worship him, but in truth this time. Not because we got sacrificial laws, so you're going to do what you want and then go sacrifice. No, you're going to worship the Most High in spirit. That's what we didn't worship him in. We didn't worship him in spirit. We was doing, it's like you got a custom and you're just doing it because that's your custom. You're not doing it because you reverence the Most High. You're not doing it because you're fear of the Most High. You're doing it because it's custom. He wants you to worship him in spirit and in truth. Go on.
24. Yahweh is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
And there you go. So we got to worship the Most High in spirit and in truth. You know, the sacrifice, we don't got the land right now. We got heathens in the land. We don't have a standing temple. We can't go and give sacrifice. So we have to worship in spirit and in truth, right? Let's go to Colossians chapter 2, verse 16. Just have a few more scriptures.
Colossians 2 and 16.
So even Paul, right? Paul lived before the destruction of the temple. Paul, I believe if you look up like the death of Paul, a lot of historians will say Paul died about 68 AD, about 2 years before the temple. Most of them either between 67 and 69 AD. Like 90% of historians will tell you Paul died around then, which is a year before 70 AD. Where really the siege had already started at about 66 AD. So he lived, not the siege, but he lived to see the start of the Jewish-Roman wars. But go on.
Colossians 2 and 16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat, or in drink, or in respect of an holiday, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days.
So the Christian will take this and say, see, let no man judge you in meat or drink. I could eat what I want. I could drink what I want. But see, no, this is talking about, what is this talking about? Read that verse again, Salah.
Let no man therefore judge you in meat, or in drink, or in respect of an holiday, or of the new moon.
So the point that Paul is saying is that when we had feast days, when we gave meat offering and drink offering. That's what he's talking about. Don't let nobody, because these are Israelites in the dispersion. They're not in Jerusalem. So and when you read in the book of Acts, it says that we had people going down trying to teach, contrary to popular opinion, right? A lot of us accepted the Jews and the Israelites that were scattered abroad, and they went to teach them also. But they were teaching them, you got to keep this law, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that, right? And Paul is telling them, because of the grace that we have under Christ, Christ is our sacrifice. So you can keep your Passover. You don't got to come to Jerusalem now and give a sacrifice. Right? That's what he's saying. Don't let nobody judge you in meat or drink. He's talking about offering. He's talking about the meat and drink offering that you give on the new moons, that you give on the high holy days. This is what he's talking about. He's not telling you now because Christ came, you could eat a pulled pork sandwich. That's not what he's saying. He's talking about offering. He's literally talking about in the law, when we had feast days, we had a perpetual offering going, because the people would all the time come to the temple, give their sacrifice. So, Salaki, this is a very good illustration of what it would look like. This big fire going on continuously, because we're giving sacrifice continuously before the Most High, because people are always there. Free will offering, sin offering, drink offering, meat offering. So that's what Paul is saying. Like, don't listen. Keep these feast days. You're doing it in Christ. You don't got to worry about giving that peace offering and everything. This is all he's talking about. That's what he's talking about. Don't let them judge you. That's why he mentioned in feast days and in Sabbaths. We gave sacrifice on the Sabbaths. Yahushua said the Levites defile the Sabbath every Sabbath. That's what he's talking about, because even we had on the Sabbath, we were still giving sacrifice. We're kindling fire on the Sabbath. He says the Levites defile the Sabbath every Sabbath, but yet they're guiltless. You can't blame them, right? So this is what he's talking about. We gave sacrifice continually, so we're not supposed to worry about that, right? So let's get to Romans chapter 12, verse 1. And this is the point.
Romans 12 and 1.
Uh-huh.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service.
All right, so it says, I want to read this over, right? It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercy of the Most High, right, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, comma, it said there's a comma there, holy, set apart. You present your body set apart, acceptable, without spot or blemish unto the Most High. Because remember, it said anything with a blemish, he's not going to accept. Right? Acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. So it's not even saying that it's something that's hard to do. This is your reasonable service, right? And this is what the point of the class is. Now we have to be that sacrifice. How we do that sacrifice? Eschew evil. Love the good. Build your brothers up. Love your neighbor. Love in your community. Love in your people. This is how we, and love, through love, we show it. Love is something that's seen. Anybody that tell me all the time, I love you, I look at them funny. Show me that you love me. I won't have to ask you, do you love me? Show me that you love me. You understand? I'm gonna see it. Like I can tell you love me, right? And this is what our acceptable service. Khan. Yeah. He's action. Yahushua said there's no greater love than a man lay down his life for his friends. That's what he did. He displayed that no greater love. He died for his people. And even when he died, not his last words, but before he gave up the ghost, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. You understand? So even though he gave himself up, we pushed the issue along, and he still didn't hold it against us. He still asked the Most High to forgive us.
And then a lot of what's that? One of the things that they say, yeah, man, but look, before he died, he's like, they don't get it.
Khan.
That was just the fleshly part.
Mm-hmm.
But then they don't see what he said to the Father, to be your will, let it be done.
If it be thy will, exactly. And that's proof that Yahushua, when you deal, I had a scheduled debate with a Trinitarian, and that was something I wanted to get into, is there's no way that Yahushua didn't live as an earthly man and have earthly parents. Because if he was the Holy Spirit incarnate and know that he's going back to where he came from, there would have been no point in him having not a fear, but him not wanting to die. If he knows he came by the Spirit and he going right back up there, what's the point? Let me go back home. Let me get out of this cage, this body, and let me go back. But see, he came as a human, and he suffered all the things that make us human, all the few feelings that makes us human. Yahweh went through it, and he overcame it. That's the point. It wouldn't make any sense to say he's a perfect person and he wasn't born like the rest of us. If the Holy Spirit impregnated Mary, what's the point? He was different from the very beginning. You understand? Like, what's the point? It doesn't make any sense for him to be the perfect. No, you're different from the beginning. The point is that he was just like us in every way. Mother, father, everything just like us. And he overcame everything that we go through. He overcame it. That's what makes him the shining example. This is what makes him that beacon on the hill that we could look to. Mike? Mm-hmm. Khan, and I couldn't remember. I was thinking of that Wisdom of Solomon where it says all kings are born that way by mother and father. Yahweh is the king of kings. So you're saying he's not, it contradicts what the scriptures say, right? But give me two more scriptures I got. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 21. And this is going back into the theme of sacrifice, right?
Jeremiah 7 and 21. Thus saith the Most High of hosts, the power of Israel, put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices, and eat flesh.
So he's basically saying, put away your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and eat it. That's what he's saying. Don't give me the sacrifices and the burnt offerings. Go on.
22. For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. So
the day that he got us out of there, he didn't tell us nothing about burnt offerings or sacrifices. Let's see what he told us.
23. But this thing commanded I them, saying, obey my voice, and I will be your power, and ye shall be my people, and walk ye in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you.
So see, that's what the Most High gave us a commandment: obey his voice, and he will be our God, and we will be his people. He didn't tell us nothing when we came out of Egypt, once we crossed the Red Sea. He didn't say, nah, you got sin offerings. He didn't mention that that day. He just told us, listen to me, obey me. That's what he wants. He wants obedience. There's a saying, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. That's what the Most High is basically saying. If you obey me, then you ain't got to worry about sacrifice. This is what Yahweh also did. Okay, the temple gone. Obey now. You ain't got the option of sacrifice. That ounce of prevention better than a pound of cure, right? Now let's go to Psalms 51, verse 15. 51, verse 15.
Psalm 51 and 15. O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. For thou desirest not sacrifice.
So see, another place. So the prophet Jeremiah said the Most High wasn't even worried about sacrifice. He wanted obedience.
Come.
David is saying, it says, and read does yours say who's Who wrote the psalm?
David.
Yeah, it says to the chief musician,
It's Psalm
a
of
psalm of David, right? So David wrote this. So the Most High gave David that too. He's not interested in the sacrifice. That's not for him. That's for you. The sacrifice is for you because he said, sin, the wages of sin is death, and the blood is the life of a thing. So blood for blood. That's what that's going into. Blood for blood. You did the sin. The wages of sin is death. For you to propitiate that death that's coming, I need blood. Your blood, or you could give this animal blood.
And that's what Samuel told Saul.
Exactly.
The Lord had pleasure in
In sacrifice. Nah, exactly. The Most High don't care about the sacrifice. He wants your obedience. But bring that verse again, 16.
Psalm 51 and 16. But thou desirest not sacrifice, else would I give it.
David would give him the sacrifice.
Thou delightest not in burnt offering.
The Most High, he don't get happy about the burnt offerings. Go on.
17. The sacrifices of Yahweh
Mm-hmm.
are a broken spirit,
A humble spirit,
a broken and a contrite heart.
a humble heart and spirit. Go on.
O Yahweh, thou wilt not despise.
And the Most High is not going to despise that. So this is the point that we're making, right? That I'm making is we gotta understand what it is that makes the Most High happy. The Most High, get right. That's all. Get right. Because the point is that the Most High, as much time as it took you to learn the wrong things, to be carnal. Now we got the chance to move the other way and get right with the Most High. Come back to him with a humble spirit, and ask for forgiveness. And not just for yourself, too. Ask for forgiveness for me, too, man. Ask for forgiveness for all your brothers, for all your people, even people that's not in the truth, because we sin before the Most High. The Most High said in Amos, only we he knows. So he's watching us and shaking his head like, look at these niggas, man. Like, look at these niggas, man. Like, he don't care about what these other people doing. He care about what we doing, in the truth and outside the truth, And it's gonna get to the point where he says, you know what? I got enough repentant Israelites. I got enough repentant Israelites. I just got one last verse and then we call it a day. Jeremiah 33, verse 14.
Jeremiah 33 and verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel and to the house of Judah.
Go on.
In those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land.
This is the coming of Yahushua, the second coming of Yahushua. Go on.
In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this is the name wherewith she shall be called, the Lord our righteousness.
Let's go. Verse 17 and 18. And we finish
thus
at 18.
saith the Lord, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel.
Because we ain't never going to have another king other than Yahushua. Go on.
Neither shall the priest.
Neither shall the priest. So this is talking about in the kingdom, right? Neither shall the priests, the Levites.
The Levites want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings and to do sacrifice continually.
So we see that in the kingdom, there will be sacrifice. We will be given sacrifice again.
David said
They exactly. He just said it literally. Levi is going to be given sacrifices in the kingdom. We're not going to be given sin offerings. You notice it doesn't say that. We're going to be given free will offerings. We're going to be given different kind of offerings. Those heathens are going to be doing sin offerings. But we're going to be given free will offerings and vow burnt offerings.
And what if somebody from the church said, how come you're not going to give a sin offering?
That would be Ezekiel,
There's 2 places you go. That's one. Okay.
because he's gonna put the law in our hearts, so there's not gonna be no sin. So there's no need. If there's no sin, there's no need for sin offerings.
That right there, that Jeremiah 31, 31 to 37, and 41 and 36.
Con 36. With that, I'm gonna say all praise to the Most High. Hope you guys enjoyed my class.
One more question.